Hey there, I'm Reverend Dan. We are Soul Evolution Collaborative, and this is Strip Down Sunday, where we unchurch your Sunday experience. So, welcome. This is a time for some inspiration, some spiritual upliftment, hopefully a new take on life in a uniquely Soul Evolution Collaborative kind of way. So, we have Stripped Down Sunday mornings to offer you this streamlined yet powerful experience to bring an updated message of inspiration to the world at a time when it seems like we all kind of need it the most. So, Soul Evolution Collaborative is a spiritual community dedicated to personal transformation and communal evolution. Two really quick things before we jump in. One, everything you could want to know about Soul Evolution Collaborative is at soulevolutioncollaborative.org. You can open it up in another tab while you're watching, poke around, check out all the stuff that we got going on. Two, we are actively creating and encouraging change in this world in a way that benefits everybody, inspiring personal transformation that leads to communal evolution in a world with room for everyone. So if you can, please help this community, this mission continue by making a donation, also at soulevolutioncollaborative.org. And we gratefully welcome your support. Donations are all tax deductible as we are part of a 501c3 organization. So let's jump in. Gratitude. Gratitude is the theme for the month. We just kicked it off this week and sounds like it's just gratitude. It's going to be great. Man, these topics have a tendency to kind of kick our butt a little bit, which means we're doing the work. And so if that's happening for you, fantastic. That means you're doing that inner work right along with us. And so every time we think we might know anything about any one of these topics, I find myself here in the middle of this kneading around of the topic, kneading around of the work of life, what it means, how does it really play out? And so I thought we could get into a little bit of my gratitude story, what gratitude has meant for me, what it hasn't meant for me, and some other things that I've kind of thrown on top of gratitude, assumptions I made, things I got wrong, and maybe some things I am getting right. So first, what is gratitude? Because this actually is really important to my gratitude story, that gratitude can actually be a variety of things. Now, you may or may not be aware of that, but gratitude can be at least three different things. These are kind of the general, if you look it up, these are the general three things that gratitude is known as. Gratitude can be an affective trait relating to someone's general disposition, right? A trait that is, they are generally grateful. They generally operate within gratitude. Gratitude can be a mood. It's a feeling that fluctuates over time, or gratitude can be an emotion, a brief feeling related to an event. So, an affective trait. Some people just naturally see things in their world to be grateful for. It's just a regular part of their experience. They're literally genetically predisposed to it. That they were born with a genetic makeup that just has them observe things and be grateful for them, like automatically. There's no thought process behind it. We're just grateful. I am not one of those people, FYI. And sometimes we can be in a mood of gratitude where we experience a general sense of gratefulness for a period of time. And it's just this experience of gratitude. And other times, the body's natural reaction of emotional gratitude sends this feeling of like good, fun, happy chemicals rushing through our body, which creates this sense of gratitude that we can actually feel. And that one is really important for me, because when I found this teaching, the Centers for Spiritual Living, and the organization is Centers for Spiritual Living. When I found it, the teaching is the science of mind, and the general take on gratitude seemed to be, you should just be grateful for everything all the time. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, well, a gratitude practice, right? That idea was thrown around all over the place. Like, you should have a gratitude practice. You should be actively practicing gratitude. You should be grateful. And gratitude is this like thing to strive for. And yet I don't ever recall it being talked about, like, what even is gratitude? I didn't even think about what is gratitude. It was like, oh, that's just this concept that we all know what gratitude is, to be grateful for something. And so my experience of gratitude, the way I knew gratitude, was this third option, this emotional reaction to something going on. At like something happens in my experience, and my body has this reaction where it sends chemicals coursing through me, coursing through my body, and it's like all this feel good, happy stuff. And this is great. And I don't know, that happened few and far in between compared to what this gratitude practice said I should be experiencing, right? Like this idea of a gratitude practice, that if you just focus on gratitude, you'll bring yourself into that experience. But for me, gratitude was this, I didn't necessarily know it at the time. I mean, this is years and years ago right now. Gratitude was this very visceral, like, body experience. And so I was never going to tell anybody at the time, but I wasn't getting that at all. And so practicing gratitude was like, oh, this feels like one of those fake it till you make it kind of things, which really translates to like, let's just bypass it. Let's just practice like a total spiritual bypass of not recognizing what's really going on, when in reality, I didn't know it at the time, but gratitude is actually way more than what I knew gratitude to be. And so I guess telling my gratitude story is like, I'm sure I can't be the only one, right? I don't know, maybe I'm the only one, who knows? I'm sure there are other people out there, like, never really thought about what the words mean, and yet we have like a whole interpretation of what we think the word means when it comes to how we respond to that word. You know, words like gratitude, you know, kind of those buzzwords within teaching like this, that you should have a gratitude practice. You should be grateful for things. I mean, of course, here are all the shoulds, right? Let's should all over the place. But it was so common, this idea of gratitude, and yet I didn't experience gratitude in the way that I thought I should be experiencing gratitude when I attempted to engage in any sort of gratitude practice. And simply what I know now is it's because gratitude can be way more than what I thought gratitude was. Like, I thought, well, yeah, if you were grateful for something, of course you would have this full body experience of gratitude. And so when I had that, those were the only times that I was genuinely experiencing gratitude. And yet, here we are, knowing there's at least two other versions of what gratitude is. There is this affective trait, people who are genetically predispositioned to experience just a general sense of gratitude. And then there is also just this mood of gratitude, which I have now, I mean, I can't go and change my genes. However, we can change the makeup of our brain. And then there's this mood of gratitude, which is just like this general sense. Now, it seems so obvious, and yet, having never heard anyone really define gratitude in this way, it was like, oh, that makes so much sense. I don't actually have to wait. You don't, if you are this way, if you experience gratitude in a way similar to me, you don't actually have to wait to have that full body chemical reaction like that. I'm sure that, you know, there's some sort of dopamine or something there that gets us like that high, that feeling of, I don't know, it's like a buzzing for me, but we don't actually have to wait for that to experience gratitude. There are other ways of experiencing gratitude. And so to not have that emotional experience doesn't mean there's not gratitude involved. And so redefining my experience and my story about the whole thing has really helped over the last several years really build a sense of gratitude. And so what ends up happening is a greater sense of gratitude, a sense of gratitude greater than just the emotional chemical experience of gratitude. And what comes to mind, I can remember times as a kid where it was like I was supposed to be thankful for things. And I don't know that I really had the words as a kid, but looking back on it, I can like name each individual aspect of it. And as a kid, I was not having that like emotional chemical experience. And that was what I knew as like genuine, authentic gratitude. And so not having that, receiving socks as Christmas presents or whatever, right? Like that didn't feel like a genuine experience of gratitude. I was like, oh, thanks. And so, I mean, there is kind of like that. We're going to fake it a little bit because it's socks and what kid really wants socks. But it was also like, oh, that reinforced this like fake gratitude kind of thing. And then so in other scenarios where I wasn't feeling that emotional chemical gratitude, it got tied into that fake sense of gratitude really closely. And I think I did not grow up with a you should be grateful, but I think for anyone who grew up with a you should just be grateful, it was kind of similar that you should be grateful. And if you're not experiencing what gratitude has meant to you or the way you think you experience gratitude, well, then the option is you're doing something wrong, right? We don't think as kids like, oh, well, maybe you're just incorrect, right? Like we internalize all that and it was like, oh, I'm supposed to be grateful and I'm not. Crap. Again, as a kid, I think most of us don't have, I didn't have the awareness to piece. I mean, our brains aren't even done building itself essentially, right? Like we're still working on all that. And so to even try and figure any of that it just wasn't going to happen. I mean, that's what the childhood experience is. It's all of that learning from our experience, from the things people teach us, etc. And so I didn't have the tools at the time to figure out like, oh, maybe there's something else to this, which would be really nice. I think like if we could let our kids know that every once in a while, like, wouldn't you have appreciated that as a child? There's a little more to life than just, whatever the experience, whatever way we've filled in the blank. And that's applicable to way more than just the gratitude experience. But those experiences as a kid of, go say thank you to so-and-so for the thing, or the thank you cards you're supposed to write, or whatever variety of you should be grateful for the food that's being made for you, the roof over your head, any of those things. I mean, it's such a wide gamut of things that you should be grateful for. And there's a whole lot of reasons why maybe we weren't actually grateful at the time when someone thought we should be, because of a whole lot of other reasons. And so there is this very wide experience. But I think that my gratitude experience being what seemed to be the uncommon experience when I got to New Thought, of course, because this is how it works, my experience was reinforced by the idea that we get here and you should be grateful. And so here is a gratitude practice that you should take on. And of course it's going to work because this is what we're all doing, right? And it was kind of that same thing, like, oh, I didn't know any better when I found the teaching and thought, okay, this is the gratitude practice, I'm going to do it. And it never really explained gratitude. It was just look for things in your life to be grateful for, and it'll build more gratitude. And the more gratitude you find, the more gratitude you'll have. And I was like, oh, okay. But it didn't ever feel like gratitude because it wasn't that chemical thing. And so spending the time with the idea of gratitude and kind of rewriting the story for myself really created a space to experience different kinds of gratitude. And here's the really cool thing is the thing about the gratitude practice. Once I realized there were other versions of gratitude, other experiences of gratitude, like oh, I can just enjoy, like, gratitude doesn't have to be the full body experience. It can literally just be a thought. It can literally just be an experience, a scene of gratitude. And that also is gratitude. I was like, oh, that seems really simple. Why didn't anyone ever just say that, right? But in doing that, it kind of gave permission. It also created space to have a whole other experience of gratitude. And one of the things that happens, the experience of recognizing things to be grateful for, when repeated, actually builds new neural connections in our brains. So I may not have been born with this predisposition to just see everything around me to be grateful for. We can actually build, we'll say muscle. It's not really muscle. We can build neural connections, new brain maps, brain patterns, right? We can create like new trenches in our brain from this signal to this signal that create a whole new experience. So literally recognizing this new version of gratitude has built a system of recognizing gratitude. And so the gratitude practice is true, that when you recognize things to be grateful for, you build the experience of gratitude and then recognize more things to be grateful for. And you actually do build an experience of gratitude and recognizing gratitude and experiencing more gratitude. So that is very true. However, I feel like we left out a couple of important pieces in the beginning, at least in my beginning of the story. Like I didn't have all the pieces that I have picked up over time. And so if nothing else, here are some of those pieces if you're looking for them. The other really cool thing about gratitude, because like, okay, cool, a gratitude practice so that we can experience more gratitude, so we see more gratitude. That kind of, yeah, okay, cool. But like, why? Right? I mean, that's I don't know. My mind always goes here like, why gratitude? Why is gratitude important? Why is it important to build new connections in the brain, to build new neural pathways? Why is that important? Why does that matter? Here's the cool thing. So we all have this what we call the monkey mind, right? Like all these thoughts. And that's kind of like usually one of the first realizations when we get to some sort of new thought teaching is like, oh, I am not the thoughts that I'm constantly having. And when we put a little distance between ourselves and the thoughts we're having, we get to reevaluate who we are, and we get to learn more about ourselves. And that's fantastic. It can take a while. It's a process to kind of weed out the beliefs that start a lot of those thoughts. And a lot of those things, a lot of those beliefs and patterns and stories, generational trauma, whatever it is, all of that stuff can really kind of get in the way of creating a new experience, right? So if our thoughts and our beliefs and our patterns and our habits and all of those things create the experience that we are it creates the experience we're having. If we desire to create a new experience, then we kind of have to tend the garden. We have to weed out whatever those thoughts and habits and patterns are. What ends up happening is we're like, yeah, I'm going to change this thought and have a new experience. And then the old pattern or the old whatever, a lot of times it's fearfulness or even anger and frustration or sense of lack or whatever. Those old thoughts pop back up and get in our way of actually changing our thought pattern. We're like, I'm going to have this new experience. And it's like, well, maybe. Are you sure? It's kind of that like doubt, that thought of doubt that creeps in. So here's where gratitude comes into play. It is impossible to hold a sense of gratitude and have that other less than thought, right? The thought of lack, the thought of fearfulness, whatever it is, whatever that other thought is. If we're in a place of gratitude, our mind, it's like our mind puts up this wall to any thought opposite than that. And so if we have this thought of gratitude, we're not holding a thought of fearfulness or of lack or any thought that could get in the way from us having a new experience. And that's not to say that those thoughts are bad, because I think that's the easy takeaway is like, oh, well, fearful thoughts or lack thoughts or thoughts of whatever, being angry and all that. Oh, that's all bad, and we're gonna like put all that to side. Those all have a time and a space. What they're doing is pointing us back. In this instance, I'm gonna create a new thing, and we have a thought of some thought that is less than what the experience is. That less than thought is actually pointing us back to the belief that we have. That is like, maybe not. And it also takes practicing the new thought to ingrain again, to have that new neural pathway, to have the new experience. And so gratitude, it can be a mechanism for keeping us connected to that new thought, holding that new idea. So gratitude actually becomes a really important tool. It can become a really important tool. There's a lot of freedom to express new things from that mood of gratitude, right? There's this whole other opportunity that when we are not allowing the flow of the thoughts that are less than the new desirable experience, there's this whole experience for the new idea, the new thing, creating the new whatever it is we're trying to create. And that's just how powerful it is, because gratitude can play out in pretty much trying to create anything. It's one of the reasons that within Science of Mind, the form of affirmative prayer that we use, it can be looked at as formulaic. There is a formula to it, and that is to keep the one praying kind of out of this probably traditional form of prayer where you're kind of like asking something outside of you, beseeching to something like, please, I'll do this for me, I'll never do it right. This formula for affirmative prayer within Science of Mind is to name the truth, like to remind yourself about the truth of the universe we live in. Like, what is it all? It is oneness. And then because it's oneness, because there's only this one thing going on, then we remind ourselves that, well, oh yeah, I am also part of that oneness. What else could there be? And then we get to declare, because we're now in this state of recognizing our connection to that whole, WHOLE, to the whole, we get to declare and actually create with our words, with our thoughts, with our feeling, with our beliefs. We get to create the experience we want. We get to influence the experience that's happening around us. And when we do that, naturally, it's like, you're complete in saying all that when the only thing left is gratitude. So then when you're in this state of gratitude, it's like, oh yeah, everything. Yes, I said all the things I need to say, and I'm just in this place of gratefulness. I'm grateful for the ability to speak these words, to have these new thoughts, to influence the experience around me. I'm grateful for this new experience. And then there's nothing else left. The gratitude is like then we just go into this release. Like, this is all that needs to be said. And so gratitude, once again, becomes that tool. It is that tool that keeps us it's almost like it creates this shell around this new thought. Like, here is the new thought, and it's protected by this sense of gratitude. That I don't know. That sounds kind of silly, but it's like the gratitude protects it. The gratitude is the thing that protects this new idea from our old thoughts. So, yes, gratitude can be multiple things. Gratitude can be an effective trait. It can just be someone's natural disposition. It can be a mood that we experience. It can be an emotion. And gratitude certainly is a tool that we can use to literally change our the construction of our brain. It can change our experience, and it is really helpful in trying to create something new. So I hope that's helpful. I hope my story has helped you, that you can take away something from that. I'm sure that there are millions of people out there who have a very specific experience of gratitude and just never had anyone explain it. There's way more to gratitude than just whatever version of it we learned growing up. So thanks again for tuning in. This is Strip Down Sunday. We're Soul Evolution Collaborative, and we will see you again soon.